Good morning. All right, there you go. I'm delighted to be your speaker this morning. I hope you guys are enjoying breakfast. My name is Jason Daly. I work on our agency development team. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about combining signals and machine learning to discover growth. Now, both of these topics we've heard a little bit throughout the conference thus far. What I'm going to try to do is to provide a little bit of a different perspective and share with you some insights that you might not be aware of. So what are we going to do? Three things. See if this is working. There we go. Three things we're going to cover today. First, we're going to talk about the importance of signal. Second, we're going to talk about the benefits of trusting the machine. So I actually altered the presentation a little bit based on some of the discussions that we were having yesterday. And then finally, I'm going to give you 5 C's as takeaways. So in addition to all of the great content and ideas that are blowing your mind, I'm going to give you some actionable things that you can actually take back to your jobs. Now, the title of this presentation could have also been called Confessions of a Reformed Search Marketer. This is me, and this is how I think of search marketers. Like, we think of ourselves as sexy, getting the guy or the girl, using our intellectual powers to kick ass and, save the day. And I spent the first probably 2/3 of my career in search. And so for me, there was nothing better than search. And then my world started to open up, and I realized that actually there was more beyond the search world. And so I think the thing that unites us is performance marketing, because I used to be an evangelist for search, and I'm not that anymore. And even though I'm at Facebook, I'm not just an evangelist for social, but what I'm really an evangelist of is performance marketing. Because I do think this is the one thing that unites all of us in this room, whether you focus on paid search or SEO or social or website optimization. The one thing that we have in common is driving true business outcomes for clients. And the thing that's had the biggest impact on how we do our job is this device. So there's now more than 2 billion of these in the world. And it's changed the consumer journey. And it's making it harder for us to actually do what we do on a daily basis. But I think there's just hope, because even though the consumer journey isn't linear anymore, so people will start on their desktop, they'll move to a tablet, and they'll add to cart there, then they'll go to to a store, then they'll go back to their computer, and then maybe they'll finally end up purchasing in a store. We did some research, and we found that for travel, for example, the average consumer will engage 57 different digital touch points over the course of 2 months before they actually end up booking a trip. And so this may seem like chaos, but for marketers, it actually creates a lot of opportunity, because it means we have a lot more opportunities to engage consumers at each stage. Now, unfortunately, there's an epidemic going around. There's an addiction, and people are addicted to search crack. It's true. Some of you in this room may be on rehab, and it's okay, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand. But what's happening is people continue to search for people at the bottom of the funnel, and that's where they're fishing for their conversions. And if your business is on search crack, you may be asking yourself this question: why isn't my business growing? So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And what we see is that the successful brands on our platform aren't really beholden to the traditional maxims and methods of performance marketing. And they recognize that the evolution of performance marketing is growth marketing. And so what is growth marketing, or what's that about? Well, basically, growth marketing is for folks who basically realize that they can't focus exclusively on their customers that they've already won. They need to focus on winning new customers. And not just any new customer, they have to focus on the ones that are going to keep coming back and the ones that are delivering the most value. So what we believe is that successful brands know that the consumer journey has changed, and they're not waiting for people to get their products. They're actually having products to find people, and growing brands don't wait for purchase intent, they actually create it. And what I would posit is that by integrating and adding Facebook to your search campaigns, you can actually do just that. You can discover growth. Now, there may be some naysayers in the room, a few maybe. So we're going to come back to this topic. But what I want to do now is turn our attention to the importance of signal. So you heard a lot about data in the actual conversations yesterday. Audience data, campaign data, being as partnering with Oracle, and it makes sense because at the heart of today's marketing landscape, it really is all about data. But from a platform perspective, if you want to create great advertising, formats and features, just having data isn't enough. You need more than that. And so for us, it's about finding signals. And signals are different than data, because a signal is more than just a data point. It actually incites action. And it's something that not only gives information, but it informs what to do next. So within the realm of growth marketing, there are really 2 cornerstone signals that are the format that really form the heart. Now, there are other contextual ones, but the ones that matter most are identity and intent. But you have to have both. So if you have a very good understanding of identity, so if you understand who someone is, but you don't understand what their intent is, then you could end up with this situation. So this is a real ad that I was served, and they got it right. They got the identity part right because they were looking for Jason Daly. They found me. But they got my intent wrong because I had actually purchased the pants on the right already. And so now had they shown me, you know, a belt or some accessories or maybe a shirt to go with it, I would have been interested, but they didn't, and so their money was ultimately wasted. But the reverse is also true. So if you have a great or, you know, if you have an understanding of intent or a low level of intent without understanding identity, then you could also end up in a wonky situation. So back when I was at Microsoft, we had just launched Ad Center, and we had a client CPG brand who was like, I want to own the keyword bleach all day, every day, just give us bleach, more of it. And we needed the money, so we said, sure, we can make that happen for you. So we ran the campaign, you know, it was going well, and we came back and showed them some reports, and we showed them some audience reporting, and what it showed was that it skewed very heavily young male. And so they said, wait a second, something's going on here, we don't trust you. And what happened is we found that there were a lot of people who were actually searching for this anime character named Bleach. So there was intent, but we didn't have a good understanding of who the audience was. So as we all know, search is an intent machine. You know, it knows our deepest, darkest secrets, whether it's Google or Bing. How many people would be willing to take their search browsing history and put it up on the big screen today? Couple, not many. You guys are really brave. And it does this by understanding the queries that we actually enter into the search engine. So that's how search understands intent. And then Google has things like Google Plus to understand identity. All right. Now, Facebook, we start with an understanding of unique identity across our more than 2 billion people, and then we start to go the other way. And it's actually interesting because Facebook was the first time for many where they actually used their real name and their real picture on the internet. So before Facebook, it was all like Cookie Bunny 123 and Park City Pat. You can see up here there's someone named Chatting Chuck. So this was a new dynamic for people to actually reveal who they were on the internet. And so our power comes from actually having unique identifiers for who individuals are. So we know their real name, we know their address, we know their phone number, and not more than that, the power really comes when we're able to combine it with attributes about who that person really is so we can understand more about who they are. So let's do a quick example. Let's take Kim Kardashian. This is not her real name, her real email or phone number, so Paul Longo, don't go trying to call her. But we know who she is, we can identify her, but we also know other things about her. So we know who her friends are, or at least who they were. We know she's into yoga, she's into makeup. She has a certain affinity for Kanye West albums. She's a mother, and we know that her and her family like to vacation in Punta Mita, Mexico. And so we take all that identity data, and then we combine it with the things that people are doing on their platform, their behaviors. We combine it with first-party advertising data, and we combine it with third-party data to get a better understanding of intent. So, growth marketing, cornerstones, identity and intent. Search starts in intent and is now moving over to understanding identity. Social has started in identity and now has a better understanding of intent. So let's talk about the benefits of trusting the machine, because once you have all that data, you actually have to do something with it. And this is where machine learning and AI come in. Now, Google or Bing or us will tell you that you're better off trusting the machine. And I know that's hard for a lot of people, especially when they want to be in control. But I'll give you this example. Like, I used to think that I was better than Waze. I can outsmart it. I know my neighborhood. I know where I'm going. Guess what? I can't. I can't beat it. And so to the point that was made yesterday, this doesn't mean that you don't have, or there isn't a room for human intervention. You still need humans. You need human intellectual capacity to drive strategy, to inform the plans as they go, to interpret the meanings. But it means for like the intellectual, for all that horsepower, 99 times out of 100, the machine is actually going to do a better job. There was actually some conversation yesterday also about, you know, transparency and trusting data with platforms. And so I thought it might be helpful to share Facebook's principles for data. So one is we build products to deliver true business value, which means at the end of the day, if a client isn't getting good benefits or real business outcomes, then we don't want their money. Second, the more you share, the more you get. So the more data that clients share with us, they're going to end up reaping more benefits. And then finally, no third-party access. And so what we believe is that, you know, your customers, your data is a better indicator of your customer and your conversions better than your competitors. And so we're not going to share, you know, any of your data with third parties or other advertisers unless you explicitly give them permission to do so. So what are the benefits of trusting the machine? Well, one, you get access to deep insights and knowledge. Two, it improves your ability to actually target people and to improve the relevance and the experience for consumers. Third, it allows you to unlock advanced optimization techniques. And then finally, it improves your ability to understand how your ads are actually impacting your business in sophisticated ways. So let's take a look at an example around knowledge and how trusting the machine can uncover some interesting insights. So Cadbury is a client. Chocolate, who doesn't like chocolate? Everybody likes chocolate, but they wanted to understand it on a much deeper level. So they used Facebook's audience API to better understand their audience. And what they found was that basically chocolate is used as kind of an antidote as well as an amplifier. So sometimes people eat chocolate when they're feeling down and they want to feel good about themselves. And then sometimes they're already feeling good, they just want to feel better. And what we find is that that kind of behavior differs by time of day and also day of week. So Cadbury used this insight to develop really custom creative and targeted different individuals based on their unique interests. So people who were interested in driving, people who were like do it themselves, and then people who were just excited about getting a new haircut. Now, let's talk about relevance. Relevance is all about delivering the right ad to the right consumer at the right time. And you're able to do that if you leverage all of the rich identity and intent signals. And we also not only take our own data, but again, this is informed by what brands and advertisers tell us about their own consumers and what they understand to be important about them. So if we think about the world today, there's a myriad of choices, kind of an information overload. And if you think about these guys, Netflix, Spotify, and Amazon, what they're able to do is kind of to break through all of that noise by making their experiences more relevant for each consumer. So, Amazon, 367 million products. When I visit Amazon, I don't see 367 million products. What I see are a list that have been curated specifically for me based on my, past behaviors, my past purchases. And because of that, I'm more likely to make another purchase in the future. So targeting on Facebook is about how do you take our 2 billion users and go from reaching all of them to reaching the ones that actually matter most for you. And a great example of how you can do this on our platform is through dynamic ads. So we have dynamic ads for retail, but we've also launched dynamic ads for travel as well as auto. And what they allow you to do is basically, again, leverage those intent signals across channel to automatically promote relevant advertising to your customers based on your own products. So if within the travel vertical, for example, you can target people based on their, the places that they've been looking at, based on the number of travelers, based on their exact travel dates, a myriad of functions that allow you to search people or target people based on whether or not they have high levels of intent or very low levels of intent. This is an example that shows all the possible travel intent signals that a travel advertiser or brand might leverage in order to do this. And what I'm going to show you next is actually a short clip from Wayfair, and what's going to describe is how they're actually using dynamic ads to actually improve the relevance and the performance of their campaigns.
Wayfair is the leading online destination for everything for the home. With over 7 million products from thousands of suppliers, we like to say there's something for every style and budget. My team is principally focused on finding new customers and introducing them to the brand for the first time. As you can imagine, marrying the right creative to the right audience and targeting them at scale is very cumbersome. Facebook allows us to reach our customer across the entire decision journey. Previously, we could only understand the intent of our customers by looking at what they browsed on our website. But we know that people show intent by doing a bunch of other things, like looking at blogs or who they follow or what other websites they visit. And now with dynamic ads, we're able to show in a more finely tuned way the products that are actually going to be most relevant to that customer based on who they engage with on Facebook and Instagram and their other sort of browsing behavior across the internet. What dynamic ads allows us to do is utilize that information and also marry it against our catalog of products to show the right product to the right customer at the right time. We run our customer acquisition campaigns with 2 key metrics in mind. One is, what is the cost to find a new customer? And the second, we balance against the revenue that we generate from that group of new customers. And where dynamic ads have been uniquely powerful is that we're actually able to drive higher quality customers at a lower cost. We're able to do that at a scale that's meaningful to our business and beating our efficiency goals by over 20%. Facebook gives us a lot to keep up with, and we're excited about the future roadmap and growth of our business together.
So a great case study there, which really highlights what we're talking about. Now, the third benefit of trusting the machine is the opportunity to unlock more advanced optimization and delivery algorithms. And what we've evolved is we're really, focusing on leveraging machine learning to how do we go from optimizing for proxy metrics like clicks and impressions to things like long-term value for clients. I think it's important also just to call out that really our auction is based on delivering two things. It's about maximizing advertising value, but we also want to make sure that we're creating a great experience for consumers as well. And we try to balance those. And there are short-term things that we could try to do, like we could try to shove more ads into the feed, or we could try to charge more to advertisers above what we believe the true value of the advertising to be. But we don't do that because, again, we're focused on the long term. And again, the more data that advertisers or brands share with us, the more that we're able to actually improve the optimization algorithms and predict who in an audience is going to be more likely to convert. And so by implementing something like value optimization, what you basically are allowing Facebook to do is to do all the heavy lifting of trying to understand and identify who are the customers who are going to be most valuable to you, and then going out and finding more folks that look like them. There are a lot of partners in the audience who also leverage machine learning and AI to help drive value for clients. So Kenshu, the Marins, the Ignition Ones of the world, we love partnering with them. I wanted to call out one whose people may not have heard of. So there's a company called Wiley, and I want to share a case study. What they focus on is dynamic content optimization, and this is an area where we're seeing a lot of interest and attention. So I thought this might be interesting for folks. And basically what they do in a nutshell is they take first-party, again, third-party contextual data. They bring that together in real time to understand patterns and behavior of how people are interacting with the ads. And then as consumers engage with different pieces of content, they reassemble the content from the different pieces that they have in real time to drive the best performance. And so depending on who shows up in front of them, they're going to show a different ad experience. So here's a case study for ProFlowers, what they basically were interested in doing, driving more conversions. And so this is basically where they start. They start with a myriad of actual options for each part of the ad element. So they'll start with different images, different calls to action, different text overlays, different promotional overlays, different buttons. And in this particular example, they ended up with over 90,000 different variants. And the results pretty much speak for themselves. What Wiley's AI predictive content kind of platform did is it basically, again, personalized each ad based on different audience segments and who they thought it was going to perform best. So 56% increase in conversion with a 36% decrease in cost. And we see the same thing across many repeated areas. So we found on average that the fastest growing brands, so the people who are actually spending more on the platform, have 11 times more creative assets, resulting in 3 times the amount of revenue. And then Social Code did a study that also showed that the average variance in ROAS between the top performing and the bottom performing creative is actually 11x. Now, if you have 100 people, you could have them going out creating different ads and trying to optimize on the fly, but most people don't, and if you tried it, it would probably be pretty cost ineffective. And so again, if you trust the machine, it can do this on your behalf and drive great results. And in studies we did this year and last year, again, we also found that for clients who actually shared their data, provided additional signals and trusted the machine, they were able to drive more conversions at a lower cost. Now, let's talk about impact. The final benefit is really how do you better understand how your media dollars are actually working for you. Now, with all the digital touch points that we have, the different channels, the different ways of engaging, the consumer journey has gotten more challenged, and the place where it's really made it hard for advertisers and for agency is understanding what's really working. There's 2 things that we know. We know that all in this room, last click isn't the best way to measure because it doesn't give you a full picture of how those other digital touch points had an impact. And then finally, siloed measurement doesn't allow you to understand how those different things are working differently across channels. And so what we would suggest is you actually have to shift how you think about measurement. So 1, focus on people, not cookies. Cookies don't buy anything. Cookies don't go test drive a car. Cookies don't buy tennis shoes. People do. Measure metrics that matter. So instead of focusing on things like likes or clicks, actually focus on measuring things like sales and ROI, and then compare across everything. So move from a last click model to a multi-touch attribution. But again, in order to do this, you really actually have to trust the machine and you have to provide data. So let's go back to our original hypothesis that by integrating search with your Facebook campaigns, you can actually drive better performance and discover growth. And this guy said, hey, we're going to need some more data. And thankfully, we've had advertisers who have actually shared their data with us and trusted the machine. And so we have some case studies. But first, we have a few examples. So this first case study is actually from when I was on the agency side. So this is a real performance chart from a client who had invested heavily only in search. The green actually represents their branded search impressions, and the black line actually represents the conversion rate on that traffic. And what you'll notice is that about halfway through the campaign, there's a significant difference in performance. And what I would like to be able to say is that because we had the best training program, it's because we were just optimizing the hell out of the campaign. Maybe we had a PhD student who was developing really interesting bid techniques, but it actually wasn't any of that. The only thing that we did halfway through is we turned on Facebook, and we saw an immediate improvement in performance. So a 28% increase in brand impressions and actual 9x increase in actual conversion rate. And so what we were doing there was actually creating intent. We were getting people who didn't know about the product to be aware of it, and we were actually discovering new growth for this particular brand. The second case study actually is stripped from the headlines. So I think at the end of last month, CPC Strategy actually published a blog post where they talked about an electronics client who was having a lot of success with search until they weren't, and what they were finding was that they were having diminishing returns, and so they needed a way to drive and find new customers. So they turned to Facebook and they ran a test to understand the impact. And these are the results that they actually had. And what you see here is pretty dramatic, that as they increased their spend on Facebook, they saw significantly more brand impressions. And what this allowed them to do was get a big boost on their brand campaigns, which were already more efficient. And it actually improved the efficiency of their whole campaign. And then finally, this is some new research. So just at the end of November, we created finalized a meta-analysis of over 920 different studies on Facebook across different markets. So within North America, APAC, EMEA, LATAM, and across many different verticals to really understand the impact of Facebook ads on both paid and organic search traffic. And so what did we find? In North America, Facebook ads increased paid search traffic by 10%. And this was especially true in the retail vertical, where the average lift was actually 18%. And then when we look at organic search traffic, we saw that this was true across all markets, but particularly in North America, where the average lift was 19%. In retail, it was actually 84%. In travel, it was actually 78%. So a huge increase, again, in driving growth and creating intent and awareness for clients. And so based on all the research that we've done, all the learnings to date, what we can determine is that search and social actually do play nice together. And integrating your search campaigns with your Facebook campaigns can actually drive more search volume, increase conversions, and better ROAS. So at the end of the day, search, Facebook, social, we're kind of like bosom buddies. Now, I know this might be hard. There's a few purists out there. There are people who are only like, no, I only know search. This is it. There is nothing else. So for them, I would offer this.
Not true. That's impossible.
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
No! No!
Search within yourself. You know it to be true. I figured there might be a few search people who would get a kick out of a Star Wars reference, so made that in. So okay, 5 C's, 5 takeaways. Again, got a lot of mind-blowing content. So when you go back to reality next week and into next year, what are 5 things that you can do? So the first C is actually collaborate. So one of the things that we see that really inhibits success within organizations is they've developed these unnecessary silos. So, their search team is over here, their social team is over there, or they've got 3 different teams managing social, or they have a brand budget and a direct response budget, and those people just go toe-to-toe and they fight over budget all the time. And so what happens in that scenario is people don't share, they don't communicate, they mistrust each other, and so a lot of opportunities are missed. So you need to break down these unnecessary silos within your organization. The second is connect your first-party data to Google, to Bing, to Facebook. Share those signals with us. It'll drive better performance, and as you've seen, you'll be able to reap a lot of benefits. The third C is actually create purchase intent. Don't just focus on capturing it. We've demonstrated how by integrating your Facebook and your search campaigns, you can do this. The fourth C is conduct tests, and then test some more, and then test some more after that. There's no paint by numbers formula to basically to find success, and what happens or what works for one brand may not work for another, and what worked for you 6 months ago may not work now. And so you have to constantly be testing, and the clients that are successful are the ones who, they implement test and learn approaches, and they adapt and modify as they go. And then the last C is confront. You got to confront your fears, and typically it's not with the people in this room. You guys are pretty much always bought in, but typically it's with the people who are back in your organization, because at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff that we talk about is easy to apply. It's actually easy to execute, but what's hard is actually getting people within your organization to change. So what did we talk about today? We learned the importance of signal. So we looked at how the importance of identity and intent and how these are the cornerstones of growth marketing. Second, we talked about the benefits of actually trusting the machine. It'll help give you deeper insights. It'll help you to target your consumers better. You'll be able to unlock more advanced optimization techniques, and it'll help you to actually measure the impact of all the work that you're doing. And then finally, 5 C's. So number 1, collaborate. Number 2, connect to your data. Number 3, actually create intent, don't just capture it. Number 4, conduct tests. And then finally, number 5, confront your fears. And I'll leave you with this because, again, what we see is the people who are having success are the ones who are willing and the most able to adapt to change. And with that, I'd like to say thank you.